What if a single letter, dropped into your mailbox, could decide whether your Social Security check continues or suddenly stops? No warning, no second chance. Just an official-looking notice that reads, "Respond immediately, or your benefits may be suspended." And for millions of people relying on SSA payments, that one message can feel like everything is collapsing at once. Rent, groceries, medications, daily survival, all hanging in the balance. But here's what most people don't realize. Not every urgent-looking SSA letter means what it appears to mean. Some demand immediate action because they are tied to real verification, eligibility updates, or account security checks. Others, however, are misunderstood, delayed, or misread, creating unnecessary panic that can actually make things worse. Right now, across the country, beneficiaries are asking the same terrifying question: is this real, or is my check actually at risk? And the truth is, the difference between acting correctly and reacting blindly can determine whether your benefits continue smoothly or get delayed, reduced, or temporarily suspended. In this video, we break down exactly what these SSA alert letters really mean, why they are being sent, what triggers them, and the critical steps you must take the moment one arrives in your hands. Because when it comes to your Social Security, guessing is not an option. If you've ever felt your stomach drop at the sight of an official-looking envelope, you're not alone. Because the moment that letter says SSA on the top corner, everything suddenly feels serious. Even before you open it, your mind starts racing. Did something change? Did I miss a requirement? Is my payment still safe? And that's exactly where most of the confusion begins. Let's slow it down and talk through what's really going on when people receive these "respond immediately" or "benefits may be suspended" notices from the Social Security Administration. Because while the wording sounds extreme, not every letter means your payments are about to stop. But at the same time, ignoring the wrong letter can absolutely create real problems. So the first thing you need to understand is this: SSA communication is built on verification cycles. That means the system regularly checks if your information is still accurate. Things like income changes, address updates, medical eligibility for disability benefits, or even banking details can trigger a review. And when that happens, the system doesn't send soft reminders. It sends official notices that sound urgent by design. Why? Because urgency forces action. But here's where people get caught off guard. They see strong wording and assume immediate suspension is already happening. In reality, most of these letters are requests for confirmation, documentation, or clarification. The suspension language is often conditional. It only happens if there is no response within a given time frame. Still, that doesn't mean you should take it lightly, because there are situations where the urgency is real. For example, if SSA is unable to verify your identity, or if there's a mismatch in your reported income, or if they suspect duplicate or incorrect records, your payments can be paused until everything is corrected, and that pause can feel sudden if you didn't respond in time. Now imagine receiving a letter and misunderstanding it completely. Some people delay responding because they think it's routine. Others ignore it because they assume it's a mistake, and some simply don't open it in time because they don't realize the seriousness. That delay is where problems start building. But there's another side to this story that almost nobody talks about. There are also fraudulent letters circulating that mimic SSA communication. These are designed to create panic so people click links, call fake numbers, or share personal information. That's why it's critical to recognize what an authentic SSA notice actually looks like. Real SSA letters will never pressure you to provide sensitive information through unofficial channels like random websites or text messages. They will always direct you through official communication methods. So when you receive one of these notices, the first step is not panic, it's verification. You want to confirm that the letter matches your recent activity with SSA. Did you recently update your income? Did you apply for benefits or change your banking details? Did you move or update your address? If yes, the letter is likely part of a standard review. But if nothing has changed and the letter still demands action, that's when you pay closer attention. Now let's talk about the wording that causes the most fear. Benefits will be suspended. This phrase is often misunderstood. In many cases, suspension does not mean permanent cancellation. It means temporary pause until missing information is provided. Once you respond correctly, benefits can often resume. But the key factor is timing. SSA usually gives a response window, and that window is where most people either protect or risk their payments. Another important detail is how responses are handled. SSA doesn't just want a reply. They want specific documentation. That could include proof of income, identity verification documents, or updated personal records. If even one required piece is missing, the process can restart or delay further. And here's something most people don't expect. Even small inconsistencies can trigger follow-up letters. A slightly different name spelling, a mismatched bank account digit, or outdated address information can all create system flags. It's not always about major issues. It's often about data accuracy. That's why responding carefully matters more than responding quickly. But there's still more complexity behind these letters. SSA uses automated systems combined with manual reviews. That means your case might be flagged by software first and then reviewed by a representative later. So sometimes, by the time you receive the letter, the system is already waiting for your response to move forward. This is why delays can create a chain reaction in processing. Now let's talk about what happens if someone completely ignores the notice. If a required response is not submitted within the deadline, SSA may temporarily suspend payments. That suspension is not immediate in most cases, but once it happens, restoring benefits can take additional processing time. That means even after you respond late, there could still be a gap in payments while your case is reevaluated. And for people depending on monthly income, even a short delay can cause serious stress. But here's where things get more reassuring. In most cases, SSA provides multiple communication attempts before long-term action is taken. That means one missed letter doesn't always lead to permanent consequences. However, repeated non-response definitely increases risk. Now, let's address something very practical: how people should actually read these letters. When you open an SSA notice, the first thing you want to locate is the reason section. This part explains why the letter was sent. It might say verification required, income review, medical update, or eligibility confirmation. That reason determines everything else you do next. Then you look at the deadline. This is critical, not just the date, but how many days you actually have to respond. Some notices allow a few weeks, while others require faster action depending on the issue. After that, you check the response instructions. SSA may ask you to mail documents, upload information through official portals, or visit a local office. Following the exact method matters because sending information the wrong way can delay processing. And one more important detail that people often overlook is keeping proof of response. Whether it's a receipt, confirmation number, or copy of document sent, having proof protects you if there is any dispute later. Now think about the emotional side of this situation. For many people, SSA benefits are not just financial support. They are stability. So receiving a letter that sounds like suspension is naturally stressful, but panic leads to mistakes, and mistakes lead to delays. That's why understanding the structure of these notices is so important. Because once you recognize how the system works, the fear starts to fade and clarity takes over. Still, there are edge cases where things get complicated. Sometimes letters are sent due to system errors. Sometimes documents are already submitted but not yet processed when the notice is generated, and sometimes updates from one department don't immediately sync with another, causing duplicate requests. That's why communication matters. If something doesn't make sense, reaching out through official SSA channels is always better than guessing. And here's another layer people don't always consider. Your response history matters. If you consistently respond on time and keep your records updated, future reviews tend to go more smoothly. But if there are repeated delays, the system may flag your account for closer monitoring. So over time, responsiveness actually influences how your case is handled. Now imagine this scenario. A letter arrives, you recognize it's official, you check the reason, you understand the request, and you respond correctly within the time frame. In that case, most issues resolve without interruption. That's the ideal process SSA is designed for. But when any of those steps are missed, that's when confusion starts building into real consequences. There's also an important distinction between benefit suspension and eligibility termination. Suspension is usually temporary and fixable. Termination, on the other hand, happens only in specific cases where eligibility rules are no longer met. That difference is crucial because the language in letters doesn't always make it clear to the reader in the moment. And this is exactly why so many people feel overwhelmed when they receive these notices. It's not just the content, it's the uncertainty behind it. Because when you depend on something as essential as monthly benefits, even a small question mark feels large. And right now, more than ever, staying informed about these notices is becoming increasingly important as systems tighten verification processes and digital records become more interconnected across agencies, making accuracy